Dear boomers, many boomers are facing the hard realities that working your entire life is not enough to guarantee that you're going to have a roof over your head. We discussed this yesterday, but I just want to go into a little bit more detail and offer a solution at the end, and I will elaborate on that solution tomorrow. So the thing is, we can attribute these problems with that lead to homelessness with the elderly and the older boomers, any the people that were born 1946 to 1954, is it? So I fall into that category. And so we can thank the series of recessions, high housing costs, and a shortage of affordable housing. And now the older adults are the fastest growing segment of America's homelessness population. This is hard to believe. The other day I was walking down my street, which is the people who live on my street are mostly boomers, and I ran into one of the women that live up the street. She had just come from the park, and I told her what I was doing, and I had just talked about the homelessness problem in our elderly population. And she was didn't want to focus on that, of course, and who does? Because focusing on what people might think is negative, they might think, "Oh my God, this is not going to happen to me because I'm not going to think about it." But anyway, she did grant me her attention, and we talked about it. She didn't want to talk about it, but we talked about it. According to the Wall Street Journal, and based on the Department of Housing and Urban Development, this aging population is more and more becoming homeless. And we haven't seen such degree of homelessness in the elderly since the Great Depression. And this was cited by the University of Pennsylvania's social policy professor, Dennis Colhan. So, what is triggering this silver tsunami and what they say needs to change to reverse the tide? The cost of living adjustment is one thing. Social Security will increase by 3.2% by 2024, which is now, which will match the rate of inflation as of October. But despite this, the additional funds may not be enough to help the aging population. Um, we might have to really cut back on stuff. We might have to become austere. And in that way, I don't like to become austere. I like to be generous. I like to give from my heart. I like to focus on generosity and gratitude, bringing it into my heart and into my brain to bring in a synchronized situation for myself as I go forward. The Margaret Kushel is a professor of medicine and director of the Center for Vulnerable Populations and Homelessness and Housing Initiatives, has observed an escalating rate of homelessness among older Americans. And she wrote that of all the homeless single adults in the 1990s, 11% were aged 50 and older. By 2023, she said that that percentage grew to 37%, and now the over 50 demographic represents half of the homeless single adults in the U.S., with no sign of their numbers slowing down, leaving baby boomers, those aged 57 to 75, particularly vulnerable. So, elderly homelessness has been rare within the contemporary homeless problem. We've always had very few people over 60 who have been homeless historically, says Cohen. She was on the PBS NewsHour. But in recent years, this has changed. Older Americans are now arguably the fastest rising group. After living through multiple recessions, leaving some of them without savings, aging boomers are now also contending with insufficient affordable housing. As I had said yesterday, that is a growing problem, and nobody had planned. People have not planned for this. It's interesting. And should they need additional support at certain points, finding a low assisted living center is becoming more challenging as the field contends with labor shortages, inflation, and reduced funding that puts the already limited number of facilities at risk of closing. And rent is going out of control too in certain areas like Massachusetts, New York, and Florida. One woman told the Journal that the apartment building she was living in was sold to a new owner, raising her monthly rate by more than $500. So she also lost her part-time job, leaving her living on Social Security alone and couch surfing for months before she finally found a place in late August. The fixed incomes that elderly have are struggling they can't even afford basic necessities. So what can be done? First of all, let's say that half of the older adults live in places like Oakland, California, New York, and they have become unhoused after their age of 50th birthday. And it's a kind of deal. Well, you can also look at the price. The minimum wage hasn't changed in years. That's kind of ridiculous. So they need additional support at a certain point, and finding a low assisted living center is becoming more challenging, and the COVID epidemic has maybe contributed to this problem because people were not able to work and could not pay their rent. So medical emergencies can affect people in their 70s and 80s, and also feeling when their spouses die suddenly, which we must prepare for in terms of the impermanent nature of life. Nothing stays the same, and we can, I think maybe if things get tough for people, they need to ask for help. Asking for help, in my opinion, is a spiritual practice. So many people do not ask for help. And yes, Bernie Sanders had been pushing for a minimum wage increase during his run for the presidency, and we were all on it. So, it's not right, but we can think of alternative ways to save ourselves. The traditional jobs that we've been involved with all of our lives was not enough to keep us off the streets, as it were. So I just wanted to tell you, and I'm going to tell you more about this tomorrow. I have a book called The Iceberg Effect by Dean Holland. And I have been working with him to create an affiliate marketing business since January. And it is an amazing book. You can get it for free, and you can only pay the price of shipping. I will put that link in my stuff below here. Also, please subscribe to my channel. And as I say, tomorrow I will go more in depth into this book, which has changed so many people's lives. And it's perfect for the elderly boomers because, we're not so sharp with the technology. But Russ but Dean Holland takes us by the hand and shows us what to do. And if you can't do it, they continue to show us what to do. It's not only Dean, but he has two other mentors with him, Sophie and Glenn. So they're lovely, wonderful people. I'm just about to join a mastermind group with the whole student body of the affiliate marketing system, and we're going to do some brainstorming. So I love you all, and I will talk about this book tomorrow. Love to you all. Bye-bye.